I don't need this stress, Stephen. I can find a better place to stay. She snapped. Stephen panicked. Please, don't go. I am sorry, he pleaded, terrified of losing her despite everything. Stephen was a young, successful banker at the peak of his career. He lived alone in a two-bedroom apartment situated in an expensive neighborhood in the city of Abuja, Nigeria. Despite his professional success, his personal life was marked by loneliness and a longing for connection. One afternoon, while waiting for a friend at a local cafe, he noticed a young woman in an NYSC uniform. This young woman was sitting in the corner, looking frustrated and making frantic calls. She seemed very worried about something. Ha! Please, I don't have that kind of money for rent, oh, she whispered into the phone, her eyes welling with tears. Child, who sent me come this expensive Abuja? She thought to herself, feeling even more frustrated. Stephen, feeling very sorry for her, decided to approach her. Excuse me, he said gently. I couldn't help but overhear. Are you looking for a place to stay? She looked up, surprised. Her name was Bella, a recent graduate posted to the city of Abuja for her NYSC. With no family in Abuja and struggling financially, she was seriously in need of a place to stay for her 1 year of service. Stephen explained to her that he lived alone in a two-bedroom apartment and wouldn't mind letting her stay in his spare room until she could find her own place or remain in his apartment for her service year if she wanted to. Bella began to ask herself a lot of questions in her head. How am I sure that this guy doesn't want to use me for money? She thought to herself. Oh, wait. Could it be that he wants to sleep with me? But giving him my body won't be bad, Sha. At least I'll use it to pay him for the rent-free apartment. She tried her best to maintain her steeze before Stephen, so she would not look desperate to him. See, Bella, she continued to think to herself, you better put this your steez inside your khaki pockets and grab this offer. When will you see 500,000 naira to pay for rent in this Abuja? How much is your allowance safe? You know that the cost of living in this city is very high. Don't try to miss this offer. If not, you will see Shege Pro Max in this your 1 year of service. All this, Bella thought in her head. After some hesitation, she agreed to check out his spare room. As she entered Stephen's expensive apartment, she looked around and she was so pleased with herself for accepting the offer. To hide her excitement, he simply nodded and said, it will do. They quickly settled on an arrangement. She would stay for free in exchange for helping around the house. But what started as a kind gesture from Stephen would soon become a dark chapter in his life. Bella moved in that evening, bringing with her only a small suitcase. The spare room was very comfortable and beyond what she would have been able to afford. It's cozy, she said, smiling faintly. Stephen found himself oddly excited about having her around. She was a breath of fresh air in his otherwise mundane life. The days turned into weeks, and the two of them grew closer. Stephen was charmed by her intelligence, wit, and beauty. She often cooked for him, and they spent evenings watching movies together or discussing their dreams. Stephen began to fall for her, but unknown to him, Bella was already seeing other men because she desperately wanted to maintain a big girl profile as a corper serving in Abuja. She was a beauty to behold. This was what many men in this city wanted, and she did not hesitate to give them as long as they had the cash to spend. She had multiple admirers in Abuja, each one unaware of the other. One night, after a lovely dinner, Stephen confessed, Bella, I think I'm falling for you. She smiled and replied, I feel the same, Stephen. But her mind was already planning her next romantic date with another man who had promised her a weekend at a luxurious resort. Bella expertly played the part of a devoted partner. She would text Stephen sweet nothings while she was out with other men. Stephen, meanwhile, was blissfully unaware, believing he had found true love. One day, Stephen's friend, Tony, noticed Bella with another man at a fancy restaurant. "Are you sure about this girl, Stephen?" Tony asked later. Stephen, blinded by love, dismissed it. "Bella isn't like that, Tony. She's committed to me," he replied confidently, but doubts began to creep into his heart. Stephen decided it was time to make his intentions clear. "I want us to build a future together," he said to Bella one evening. "I want to marry you." Bella's eyes widened, but not with joy. She hadn't expected this. She hesitated, then forced a smile. "Let's wait until my NYSC year is over," she suggested. "Then we can plan our future." Stephen, though disappointed that she didn't give him a positive response, agreed. But what he didn't know was that Bella had a dark secret. Stephen began to plan his life around Bella, picturing a future where they would live as a happy couple. Every day, he fell deeper in love, and every day, Bella's deceits grew more elaborate. She managed to keep him wrapped around her finger, manipulating his emotions while still enjoying the benefits of staying rent-free in his house. As the NYC year drew closer to an end, Bella's outings became more frequent and her excuses more flimsy. Stephen noticed the change. "Are you still committed to us, Bella?" he asked her one evening after she had returned from one of her numerous flings. "Of course, I'm committed to us," she replied quickly, but her eyes betrayed her. One day, Stephen received an anonymous message on social media. It was a picture of Bella with another man holding hands at a beach resort. His heart sank. He confronted Bella, but she waved it off. "He is just a friend," she said, her voice dripping with irritation. Stephen wanted to believe her, but his heart was beginning to feel the cracks. His suspicions continued to grow. One night, after a heated argument, where he accused her of cheating, Bella decided she had had enough. She threatened to leave. "I don't need this stress, Stephen. I can find a better place to stay," she snapped. Stephen panicked. "Please, don't go. I am sorry," he pleaded, terrified of losing her despite everything. Bella, seeing his desperation, decided to stay, at least until her NYC was over. She continued with her numerous secret relationships with other men. The day after her NYC program ended, Bella packed her bags without warning. "I'm going back to Port Harcourt for a while," she said, avoiding his eyes. Stephen felt something was amiss, but he tried to remain optimistic. "When will you be back?" he asked. "I am not sure," she replied vaguely, and with that, she left. The next morning, Stephen woke up to find all her belongings gone. He panicked as he tried calling her, but her number was unreachable. Consumed with desperation, he contacted one of her friends, Angela. Angela did not answer his calls, so he sent her WhatsApp messages pleading with her to tell him Bella's whereabouts. Angela simply replied his WhatsApp message with a picture of Bella's engagement to a very wealthy businessman whom he knew very well and even once did business with there in Abuja. This was Bella's dark secret. While living with Stephen, she was already secretly engaged to this wealthy businessman. He promised her a life of luxury and even bought her a plot of land in her hometown. She did not think Stephen was wealthy enough to give her this kind of luxury. In fact, she had no intention of staying with him. He was just a pawn in her game. Stephen's world crumbled as he realized the extent of Bella's deceit. He felt his heart shatter into pieces, knowing he had been nothing but a fool in her elaborate scheme. Desperation turned into anger and then into a hollow emptiness. All the money, the time, and the love he invested were gone, along with Bella. He tried contacting her again, but her number remained unreachable. Stephen was left with nothing but the painful reality that he had been thoroughly used. He spent the next few days in a daze, replaying every memory in his head, trying to piece together where he went wrong. He couldn't eat, sleep, or even think straight. The betrayal felt like a physical wound, tearing him apart from the inside. His friends tried to console him, but the pain was too raw. Tony, his best friend, finally sat him down. "Stephen, she never loved you. She played you from the start," he said bluntly. "You need to let go and move on." But moving on wasn't that simple. Stephen had lost not only his faith in love, but also in himself. He had been so blinded by his desire for companionship that he ignored all the red flags. To add salt to his wounds, he found out through a mutual acquaintance that Bella was already pregnant for her wealthy fiancé and that the wedding would be happening within a short time. Months passed, and though Stephen began to rebuild his life, the scars of Bella's betrayal remained. He tried dating again, but every time he met someone new, he couldn't help but question their motives. His trust was shattered. He found himself often sitting alone at night, staring at the empty room where Bella had once stayed, consumed by memories and regrets. One day, he decided to sell the apartment and move to another part of the city, hoping a change of environment would help him heal. As he packed his belongings, in one of the drawers, he stumbled upon a note in Bella's handwriting. Could she have forgotten it? Or did she intentionally leave it behind? He thought to himself. He read the content of the paper, and it contained Bella's boasting about how she had manipulated him for a whole year. The writing ended with a chilling line. "Men are so easy to fool when you give them what they want to see." Stephen felt a final wave of grief, but also a strange sense of closure. He realized that Bella's actions had more to do with her own emptiness than with anything he had done wrong. He decided he wouldn't let her destroy his hope for a better future. Stephen vowed to learn from his mistakes, but not to let them define him. While he would always carry the scars of his encounter with Bella, he promised himself he would find love again, this time with his eyes wide open. Dearest viewer, I'm quite sure that there are several lessons this story must have communicated to us, but the ones I want to point out is that you should never stay in a situation where you are being taken for granted or used. Your self-worth is more important than any promise or potential future someone dangles in front of you. Also, even after the deepest betrayals, it is possible to rebuild and find peace. Every experience should teach us growth, not bitterness, because we would be poisoning our own future by walking in bitterness. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share this video with everyone whom you think will be inspired by this story. Don't forget to tell me in the comments section what other lessons you think we can learn from the story. Until my next story, bye.